Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to this morning's webinar. Today we'll be joined by Josh Turner of Stand for Socks, who will be sharing with us on some of the lessons he's learnt in the last 5 years or so of running his social enterprise, Stand for Socks. So we'll be online today for about an hour or so, just reminding you just to keep your video off and to keep yourself on mute. But do feel free to chip in with questions as we go through. So I am going to hand over then very simply to Josh and invite you to share your lessons learnt of your e-commerce business.
Perfect. So no, great to be here. It's, as Lucy's mentioned, e-commerce selling online is a huge topic. So, please, as much as possible, use the kind of chat feature just to throw things in that you like. I'm going to kind of go through kind of our journey, what we do as an organization first, and kind of some touch on e-commerce more directly. But as I say, I'm really going to scrape the surface on what really it is. So it's as much, for all of you to, direct as you like, ask any questions, nothing's kind of off limits. So many topics I could talk. Each topic that I'm kind of going to cover briefly could be an hour on its own. So, as I say, please, as much as possible, ask me whatever you like. So I'm Josh. I sell socks, giving it away. But yeah, I went through SSC 6 years ago, I think now, maybe 7 years ago. I went through startup program back in Suffolk, and then been all over the country with SSE, and then did trade up in Liverpool, and now most recently scale up in London. So yeah, kind of been through all the programs, kind of understand it. Know, kind of the challenges you're probably facing. Obviously, all social enterprises are quite differently structured and backing different things in different ways, but the kind of heart of what we're trying to do is pretty much. So this is me. I've grown up quite a bit since these pictures are taken, but I've always been an entrepreneur. I'm young. Well, I'm young, still now young. When I was dyslexic, when I was younger, I really struggled with school, didn't really engage with kind of traditional education, not great at reading, writing, spelling, but was always kind of very creative, thinking outside the box. And, school system, unfortunately, it might have changed more for my day, but, didn't really encourage that. I was always kind of trouble for my entrepreneurial things, and never expelled, but in and out of trouble at school, and was only really encouraged to be an entrepreneur and embrace this kind of, I think, unique skill set I think I always had, upon leaving school. So back is always a funny picture. I always forget which is in these slides. Back when I was 17, I started a club night business. It actually meant as a social business. It was more just, I knew young people didn't have enough in my town centre in holidays to keep them busy. So we launched this club night business where, basically 16 to 21-year-olds can be in the same venue. We promote social media, like influencer marketing, all these things that we knew worked for that demographic. And this was the first night we launched. It's a scene from The Hangover. It's a riot. But we shut down McDonald's. The police riot vans were all out. It was far too popular than we kind of expected, and needed. And that was one of my first kind of successes in business. But yeah, this picture kind of is all about my teacher, my headmaster at school. Never told me, as I say, but used to tell me the story about ships in the olden days, firing warning shots across the path of other ships to get changed course. And it was that I was kind of challenging the norm of how we change things, but it wasn't really, I was never breaking the law, but I was kind of always pushing the limits. And now fully in the social space, I've hopefully changed course, but kind of that challenging mindset and attitude. Went on to university, went to be and the main thing I learned at university, I learned hopefully a lot, but doing things better than have ever been done before. I played American football. I'm quite a small guy, but yeah, did that. And yeah, we learned, this in your life, in family, in business, in everything, do things better than have ever been done before. And that's kind of my main lesson I think I've always learned and always taken to everything that I kind of do. And, being social entrepreneurs, you get this, but at university doing a business degree, you're kind of taught, you start a business or you start a charity, you kind of can't do both, which I'm preaching choir. You guys fully know that's possible. I'm going to glance through these quite quickly because I want to get on to what we're here for today. But, you know, kind of Googled being an entrepreneur when I left university, you know, finally wanted to go and do this now full time. I launched a Tinder for corporate expenses. So an app kind of business where we could, you know, scan receipts and swipe through them. I worked at Virgin at the time and was kind of just bored of these big clunky processes and thought I could make something better. But fed up with that business because frankly, you know, corporate expenses and finance isn't the most interesting for a young sort of 22-year-old. I came out with this quote amongst friends of imagine if socks could change the world. And based on this idea that socks are dull and boring and everyone needs them, and it's a crazy idea to think that socks change the world. Also, this was over a beer, and the joke is that 4 or 5 beers later, this became a lot better idea. Back to Google. Google throughout this talk is going to be very important to what we do. But, you know, Google how socks, how do you change the world? You know, we live that socks, wear socks for 16 hours a day. It's one of the very few items, you know, you both start and end your day with, but, you know, typically dull, poorly made, bad quality, you know, lots of issues with the industry, little issues with the industry, but, you know, we're really kind of trying to change that. And kind of from a, you know, doing this degree, I kind of knew a little bit about looking at an opportunity and, you know, even the growth, socks have been around since Egyptian times, you know, the kind of growth there, you know, that they, you know, grow at this compound growth rate of 6.5%, the average person Europe by 16 pairs a year. So there's a business opportunity there, but obviously, you know, we comes on the social side and all the stats around millennial, ethical consumerism, you know, we knew we could do more with it. So back when we started in 2015, it was all about United Nations global goals and using socks as an expression, what you stand for. You know, you stand for socks, you stand with your feet. You could wear a pair of socks and help child mortality. You could another pair of socks and, you know, support clearing landmines. It was all kind of based on this idea of colourful socks doing good. Skip 2 slides there. And so what we did with buy one, give one back then, you know, you buy a pair of socks, you know, in the UK and you could plant 10 trees in Bangladesh or vaccinate kids against measles in India or plant trees, you know, clear landmines in Vietnam, all these kind of fantastic, great things. But, you know, I know you guys have had sessions on marketing as well. It was kind of a great idea in terms of social and social impact, but we were trying to do so much and we were so small as well. And it just was such a complicated message. And although our message is we want to change the world and we're going to start with the biggest causes of the UN global goals, you know, you need to kind of really focus and start on what you can do well. And, you know, frankly, now 6 years later, there's more we can do and we are doing, but, you know, we built the scale first. So socks, then, you know, we kind of found out about actually 1 to 2 years in that socks are the most requested items by homeless shelters. We basically had a sock design that completely flopped. It was one, I mean, I designed the socks, I'm forgetting myself for this, but, you know, it was a design that just wasn't well thought out. Really, we thought about the cause, it was HIV/AIDS, and we did a design that we thought worked for that. And, you know, frankly, it just didn't work. So, you know, we didn't know what to do with these socks. We donated them to some homeless shelters, and the 3rd shelter in a row that turned around and was like, you know, socks are the most requested item. Do you know this? And, you know, thank you for these brand new socks that have never been worn, and, you know, no one ever donates them. So it's fantastic. And then all this stuff we kind of got into about, you know, the average homeless person walks 10 miles a day and they don't have the luxury of changing their socks every day like, you know, we do, can lead to a number of very serious foot health issues from something as simple as a fresh pair of socks to the rest of us. And, you know, as we all know, with homeless and that we would donate money, we would donate coffee, your old coats, but, you know, you'd never donate your old holy socks. So it was just such an obvious social problem that we didn't anticipate at all. We weren't, you know, kind of knew about. And so we kind of pivoted a bit more to focusing on that. We launched actually just one design. It was a grey, you know, really plain design, and it did a lot better. And then we did some other more colorful designs, and it kind of now today is about 90% of what we do. We are now going a bit the other way and doing some other stuff, but yeah, it's the premise of what we do. So, you know, every pair of socks you buy one, we give one. It's a thick antibacterial, specially engineered sock that we donate. I think the misconception a lot of people have is that they buy, you know, a fun stripy dog sock and then we'll donate a fun stripy dog sock. And it's, you know, the reason we don't do that is because, you know, we want to donate a sock that's entered for the needs of the people we're supporting. So, you know, it's basically a very good hiking sock that we've reverse engineered with our supply chain that we've built. It's antibacterial, it's hard wearing, it's all these things. And, you know, we've got 3 or 4 versions of it for different needs. It's not all just rough sleepers. We've got ones for food banks and people going for job interviews. And we've kind of, you know, really been able to kind of expand and hone in on that cause. And yeah, as I mentioned there, the kind of features of them and kind of communicating that is very important to us. Obviously, to sell a lot of socks, very briefly, you know, you've got to make the greatest socks in the history of feet, we always say. You know, we don't just want to sell an average poor product and then do the social good. As I'm sure you'll all know, you need both as a kind of good social enterprise. You can't be lazy on one just because you've got a cause, you know, think it's going to carry it, obviously. We call them SOX 2.0, but basically, yeah, with our supply chain, many years of working with them, really challenging the norms of how socks are made, the materials used, the features, and of course, obviously the ethics within that whole supply chain. Last year, yeah, it's now 2021, but in the summer 2019, we filmed with Dragon's Den. Kind of watched it as a kid, always been an entrepreneur, so it was great to kind of go on there, which aired at kind of Christmas. And then, you know, it's on YouTube and stuff. It's quite a funny experience, but, you know, great kind of PR and publicity. We always joke, you know, we had this kind of backhanded compliment from Tuka that, you know, the only thing impressive here today is you. And I think really most interesting, actually, my mentor just mentioned this the other day, you know, they really slated our online, not slated, that's really wrong with that, but didn't agree with our online strategy that we were pursuing and thought we need to go down a more retail and high street route. Obviously, we disagreed with that, and you know, we are where we are now. But quite interestingly, the quote from Tuka was, you know, you're credible, but unfortunately, your strategy isn't. Our strategy of online, given the events of the last year, was the right idea. So, you know, a little bit smug that I think that we can say, you know, we have been on online focus, and it's been knocked and criticised, but I believe it is the right strategy, and we're kind of showing that. And, you know, this is it, it's direct to consumer, as we call it, you know, selling online, we ship socks directly. You know, obviously when you're buying a pair of socks and donating it, we just don't have the margin, frankly, for retail. You know, retailers want to make about 2 to 3 times markup. And when for every pair of socks you're selling, it's actually 2 pairs, and the quality and ethics are so much higher, the cost is so much higher. Retailers just aren't interested. You know, frankly, we've tried expensive trade shows, we've tried down that route. Whereas when we sell online, because we're completely manufacturing through to sending to the customer, our gross margin is obviously slightly higher. We've got shipping and various costs involved. So our kind of social impact is kind of, we can cover that cost because we've got a higher margin. So it is kind of probably important to mention that. And how we do it, you know, influencers, collaborations, digital marketing, I know I'm going too much onto marketing, but the interest in this pug dog here is he's ridiculously famous. He's got a few million followers, and we got a picture of him with our socks, which we're very proud of. And then late last year, you know, we got Louis Theroux was promoting us, and Stephen Fry, and many others. We had Chris Evans on Virgin Radio, and we've had Michael Sheen for a few years promoting us. So, you know, it is great. We're having a great product, and when you can promote it online, it's not just obviously people in your local community that are really going to buy into that. So, spoken at 100 miles an hour. So, really want to get onto e-commerce now. So, I sort of chatted with Lucy about this. I really don't want to patronize anyone by making e-commerce sound really basic in the way I'm explaining it, but at the same time, I don't want to talk too, you know, complicated that, you know, it doesn't make sense. So, you know, I can't see the chat at the moment, but please keep adding comments in there, and we'll come to it at the end, because I really want to add as much value to you all as possible. So I'm going to kind of go over it. I'm going to talk quite quickly, give you an idea, give some lessons learned, and hopefully there's some useful things there, and then we can pick up more in the questions. There's a lot of memes, by the way, I'm going to warn you there, and a lot of funny images, but just some really just general stats. I think just a really idea of what we talk about with e-commerce. I mean, globally, and this is actually pre-pandemic, e-commerce of 3.9 trillion. So e-commerce, what we mean by that is, you know, selling online, and that can be, you know, selling a product, selling a service, anything online basically is not offline. I mean, it's as simple as that. You know, it's people can complicate it as much as they like. That is broadly what we're talking about. It's 17% of all retail sales. Interestingly, during the pandemic, our warehouse we work with, their view was it actually flipped literally the other way around, where 80% of say retail was online and 20% offline, which is fully understandable during lockdown. And you know, I know a lot of you have probably been closed and had a lot of issues this last year and probably still now. So, you know, it's not going anywhere. It's due to grow, you know, 10 trillion by 2027. I think one of the interesting points to make is the UK consumers actually is the most likely to buy online in the whole world. You know, we actually lead the way in e-commerce. You know, 87% on average buy online, and you know, a stat here from the pandemic, but you know, 17.2 million Brits plan to switch to online shopping permanently. But I think, you know, don't get all too worried. It's all Amazon, it's all companies. You know, this opportunity is for everybody. You know, 73% of young people want to shop online, sustainable and from independent brands. And I think we've really seen that ourselves, and loads of other organisations I know, that people just want to shop online, but it's not all loads on Amazon. Yes, Amazon's record year, you know, billions in profit and everything else, but the trend is, you know, being online independently. And a lot of you who aren't online yet, if you were online, I'm sure, you know, your community would want to shop from you than from other guys. So why online? I mean, I say these are obvious, you know, I just want to really drill home these points. You know, open 365 days a year, 24/7, you know, you're not paying people to be open. It's no kind of cost to that. People can buy from you, and believe me, they do at 1, 2 in the morning. You know, I wake up, my phone's pinging at 5 in the morning, and I've got, you know, sales, and it is a beautiful thing. And having that in addition to other strategies, it's just so powerful. Obviously, you know, you're global from day one. You know, I know a few of the comments in the chat before were about, you know, how would I sell, you know, to other towns, you know, or nationally, you know, you're so global. You know, most of our sales are UK, but, you know, we do have customers in the US, we have customers in Japan. And with the products that we're selling, which are quite community and local focused, we still are selling internationally, which I'll come on to. You know, anyone is 2 clicks from you. You know, they've not, you know, I've got to be careful what I say, because I realize a lot of your community-based businesses, but, you know, they can be sat at home in lockdown on the sofa and can buy and support your organization. They've not got to go to, you know, deserted high and, you know, the high street, and I won an award for the street, but, you know, it has a place. I want to keep emphasizing this is not one or the other. This is an additional, you know, focus the way I see it. But, you know, anyone's 2 clicks from you at the end of it, and that cannot be underrated. It's an additional revenue, you know, really at the end of the day. If you're doing, let's say, £1,000 a week online at the moment, how do we do £1,000 a week? Or, you know, it's additional to what you're doing. It's not taken away from what you're doing. And just because you sell online doesn't mean customers won't come and support, you know, your community cafe or whatever organizations you're running. I think a really good point is, you know, finding your tribe. So, you know, Pink Dog Socks, we do some bonkers socks, you know, frankly, really niches. You know, like, we don't do a pink dog sock, but, you know, we do niches. You know, we do a sock for, let's say, it's a Salford skyline. You buy this sock, it supports people. Might be getting blinded by the lights, sorry. You support people in the Salford area. Doesn't mean that we sell to people just in Salford. You know, we have people in the US and all over the world who have a link or a loyalty to Salford. They maybe came from there. They maybe have friends, family that are from there. So, you know, it's really finding your tribe. You know, we can launch the most unique and niche products, and we can kind of see, you know, find our tribe. You know, we can sell 500 pairs of socks to people in the most random of niches. If I put 500 pairs of Salford socks on my shelf in my store in, you know, Manchester here, you know, or even further afield in London, you know, the chance of someone walking through my store liking that product, you know, we have, I think, 100 SKUs, 100 different products at the moment. You know, we can really, online, we can find our tribe because we've technically got a high street in everybody in the world, you know, instantly. And I think, you know, impact opportunities, and this is the point we really need to, there's a lot more impact opportunities in selling online than you think you probably might be losing. You know, I was chatting to Joe before, and we were saying about, you know, she said to do photography, they have a community cafe, they're making products. You know, end of the day, you're doing your photography anyway, you're teaching people photography and community skills. You can get those people to learn those skills, but that photography is actually then the website photography. And, oh, you want to teach people social media and marketing skills, or blog writing, or how to run a website. All the things that you kind of will do to run a successful online shop are all community-based opportunities for impact. And, you know, to an extent, they're also potentially even more valuable because it's real and it's live and it's online. It's, you know, they're not doing little projects on a small level. They can have photography that maybe is in a magazine on a national level. And, you know, how great is that for someone's portfolio who's wanting to kind of learn and get into that area. I think just some misconceptions to point out as well. You know, it's not only just a website. You know, selling online can be, you know, through your Facebook page, you know, through a Facebook group, through marketplaces. You don't have to have your own bells and whistles, you know, website. Obviously, it's not just physical products. So if you're service based, sorry, the light at this time of the day really does start blinding. You know, if you've got community based, you know, you do maybe counseling, you do fitness classes, all of this can still be done online. It can still be transacted online. And in a sense, you know, especially with service-based things, it's even bigger because, again, your community can be anyone in the world and your impact can be so much bigger. And it's, you know, it's not complicated, it's or expensive. In fact, it's actually the opposite. As I say, it's, you know, arguably a lot. Setting up a community cafe, the costs involved and the paperwork and the complications in that are probably far more than launching an online store. Most of you could probably have an online store live this afternoon in a few hours. You know, there's obviously always different scales of how complicated you can make it, but yeah, it's not time consuming and you don't need someone full time on it. It's not risky and insecure anymore. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about, you know, data and hacking and all these kind of scary words. You know, believe me, the platforms and the way this all works now online is so secure, and it's you know, insane. It's, in a sense, I would say it's more secure than offline. In a sense, there's obviously still risks involved, but, and you know, might be some concerns, you know, it won't distract from your core community purpose. As I keep saying, it hopefully should add another channel. It should add more, not take away from what you're already doing. So socks. So this picture I always say is how my grandma, I think, sees me. You know, my grandma's 95. She thinks it's crazy that I sell socks on the internet. Her generation is, you know, socks you add to cart, you know, when you're in your supermarket or in a department store. You don't go online and buy socks. So she thinks I'm in the Matrix and doing all this really smart stuff. And, you know, frankly, it's quite simple, I think, anyway. I think getting started, and I say this is this kind of spectrum of where people need to kind of consider, you know, you can be anywhere from, you know, your Facebook Marketplace. My mum, back with her over Christmas, and she spends hours on Facebook Marketplace. And, you know, so if you handmade wooden products or furniture or anything, you know, Facebook Marketplace is a great place to start. You can list it, sell it. I personally haven't used it much before. eBay, I used to be a power seller when I was younger. It's not in my journey in the start slide, but it's really where I kind of focused a lot of my early years. You know, Etsy, a lot of these platforms, you know, they're still online. You can set up any of these stores and sell on their platform to their traffic straight away, all the way through. Then on move along the spectrum, you've kind of got the platforms, you know, like Squarespace, Wix, Shopify. You might have heard of a few of these. These kind of platforms are kind of where you've got your own kind of, I say, custom website, but it's hosted on their platform. So they have all the technology, all the bells and whistles you kind of need, and you kind of put your logo, you upload your products, and they have all the checkout and all the basically all the structure you need. But it's, to the consumer, it looks like it's all fully built yourself. And, you know, this is kind of where we are. And then, you know, the far end of the spectrum, which you probably don't need to worry about, and most of us don't, is, you know, your fully custom build tech teams, your complicated stuff, you know, like your Amazons, your Ocados, your Booking.com, you know, your massive companies who custom build it all. You know, just as I'd say, like with a factory, you know, to make products, you can make products in, you know, your shed or a back room. You know, you don't, when you go make a physical product, you don't need to go build a massive factory. Just the same as when you're selling online, you don't need to go and build a fully customized bells and whistles integrated technology platform. You know, just start in the back room, you know, start with one of the online platforms and just start growing from there. I think slides going. And then just kind of really touch on platforms, to say I can talk so much on this. We use something called Shopify. It's one of the biggest, I think it is the biggest kind of platform for selling online. There's all different ones. Very briefly, you know, Squarespace, a lot of these, some of them are very more based on design and smaller organizations. Shopify is given the name, is selling online, it's e-commerce. The benefits of these platforms, you know, here, you know, kind of stock control. So as I kind of say, it's not custom building everything. You know, this is all the kind of stuff you have off the shelf. And the beauty is, because some people are, well, I want to do this and this platform doesn't do that. Everything on these platforms is customizable. You can get into the code and you can pay developers and stuff to build more. But frankly, you really don't need to. Like, they are the best, and they're optimizing, and they're doing this for people to just set up and start this afternoon. So stock control, you know, you can put your stock on there. You won't oversell. You can customization in terms of the design and layout. You can build more on top, as I mentioned. You can update your products, your image, your photography, and it just honestly is so simple. It's just like updating a Facebook page or anything else you're using. I'm probably sure if you've got some sort of checkout in your store, till system is probably more complicated than these guys' platforms are. Like made for anybody to use. YouTube, and there's so many resources online. They've got, a lot of them have 24/7 support anyway. You can instant chat to someone if you're trying to do something, but you can go on to YouTube, as I always say, as my co-founder, and I learn everything that I know. How to upload a product, and I can watch a 5-minute video on it, and there's probably 100 videos of how to do it from different people, from the platforms made or others. So for yourself to go and learn, and if you've got an intern or someone else in your community volunteer, you also want them to learn, you can just share these videos. It's honestly so simple, and it might seem quite daunting at first when you get into them, but honestly, it's so good. Analytics and data, it's something you might not think about at the start, is very important, but honestly, it is. Looking at the data and how people are interacting is such a beauty of online compared to offline. Someone walks into your community store and walks out, you don't know why they left, but online, you can probably see how long they spent looking at something, what's converting, what's not. You've got all that data at your fingertips, and you've really got to make the most of it. But this again is a process. Integrations and apps is really important thing with these platforms. So many entrepreneurs, probably not in the social space, but think, oh, well, I can't use one of these platforms because I want to do this feature and that feature, and it doesn't do that. It's completely not true. They have, just like an iPhone and everything else has, they have an app store where you can go on, and people have built software for these platforms. And in 2 clicks, it integrates. So if you want to do a subscription service, or if you want to do literally anything you can think of, honestly, there is an app for that, and you click it, and some of them are free, some of them are maybe $3 or $4 a month, and you can just build on your platform, and they're built for this code. So you press a button and say it integrates, and it works straight away, and you can add them on, take them off as you want. So you're not paying a developer, you're not building anything customized, you're just putting it on there. Server and uptime, these guys provide you with a service. You're not got to worry with that. You've not got to worry about your website crashing. We're fortunate we've had some celebrities, promoting us, and our website has stayed up. It hasn't crashed. A lot of the old outdated myths was that too much traffic and your website will go too slow. These guys are the best at it for a reason. Ease of use, customer service, online tutorials I've mentioned. And I think scalability up and down, you guys could all launch, say, this afternoon on these sort of platforms in a very basic way. And there's, and you can then add more and build on it, and you can go up and go down. They've got different pricing plans, very reasonable subscription. The cheapest, I think, is about $8 a month on Shopify, up to about $29 a month. It's really not a lot for really what you're getting, and they're so powerful. And then I think just the basics. I know obviously a lot of you are mentioning, how do we kind of get started online? I think the basic things you'll need is kind of a website and hosting. So hosting, as I mentioned, you used to kind of have to buy that separately, and host basically your, memory online, like your I say rent, but your domain name, hosting that website. My advice would be go with one of the platforms, because you get that for free with them. They take care of it and they manage it. And you need a website, a URL, a www. something. My recommendation would be to go to somewhere like GoDaddy. Go see if your name is on there. Make it as short as possible. And see what's available. I'm sure something, a lot of you could be .co.uk or we're .com. .com just means you're international. Even if you're just selling in the UK, I'd still go as a .com. There's no harm in it. It's £1 or $2 more a year. That's about the only difference. You need online payment. Again, you're not going to rebuild this yourself, just like you wouldn't build your own till system offline. So, PayPal is one of the best. There's Square, which some of you might use offline anyway, which is, the till systems they can do online and offline. And Stripe is one of the biggest. And these platforms, again, you go onto these guys' websites, make an account, you click one button and it will link to your website. Like, it's as simple as that. You'll do it in about 10 minutes. These guys obviously all make their money by taking a small percentage fee, just like a credit card company will. My advice as well would be to have 2 or 3 of them. PayPal is one of the most expensive, but it's also one of the most secure and trusted. We have a higher conversion from PayPal because everyone has PayPal accounts, or most people do online. So they click through, their address is saved, their card details are saved. We don't see that side of it. It's all secure in PayPal. They take the transaction, they pay us then the money a couple of days later, and they charge us a 1 or 2% fee. They handle all of that experience, all of that secureness and everything. It's honestly so simple. And then distribution. And, our early days, our distribution was me packing all of the orders myself, carrying them to Royal Mail Post Office, and posting them myself. So, you know, that's I'd recommend your starting point. If you're selling products that are slightly bigger, I'd check out a platform called Parcel2Go. It's a marketplace of all the couriers, you know, all of your, from FedEx to Royal Mail to Parcelforce and everyone else. So if your product's kind of above a large letter or small parcel, you know, I'd use those. You can integrate as well. You can integrate you know, your website into this further down the line, but from a basic point of view, you know, you need to be able to get your products to your customers. And if it's local and community based, you'll sell online and deliver in person. You know, obviously that's something you can do. And then I think kind of the more, say, advanced, but what you need probably further down the line, so those who have already got stores and are maybe thinking, how do we go from, say, the £50 a week to £500 a week in sales? You know, in terms of marketing, you maybe want a CRM system to do email marketing. And I know you guys have had a talk on marketing, so I'll go over this quite quickly, but you know, a CRM system where you can send emails out and communicate with your customers in quite an automated and sequenced way. Something like Google Analytics to get a bit more data on how people come into your website, where are they kind of dropping off, why are they buying stuff, aren't they? Facebook ads as well, if you want to retarget and get new customers to your website, whole different topic, but you know, it is kind of important as you start to get established and want to kind of grow. All platforms, whether it's Etsy, eBay, Shopify, if you're on multiple platforms, will give you so much data anyway, because frankly, they've got it all. It's all there. Seeing how many times people click on a product and don't purchase, and you can go, well, they're not buying. Is it the price too high? Is it the photography is not that good? You know, all this kind of stuff. You know, you can kind of get ideas from data. And then I think logistics, as it gets harder, you know, our kind of volume, you know, sort of thousands of orders a day. It's just been Christmas. Everyone buys socks at Christmas. It always baffles me. You know, you need some sort of platforms to kind of manage and track orders, see where they're up to, where they're being picked. So, you know, lots of barcodes and all that, which frankly scared me when I started out, but actually is, you know, really actually quite simple when you get into it. But again, they're quite expensive and you need a certain sort of amount of volume. So, and then, you know, further beyond that, you know, there's softwares and things, which again, I'll keep saying, echoing this point, you don't need to custom build. You know, something like Zendesk is a great customer service tool. All these platforms, they're all so big, they all plug into each other and they all want to work together. And so Zendesk is a customer service platform for us to deal with all of our customers in a really great way. It plugs into our website, it plugs into our into our fulfillment, and we kind of get a full picture and deal with customers really well. And stuff like Pilot to get reviews, you know, that's really important online, you know, word of mouth, and Zapier and different automation tools as well, which, you know, we've only got to that stage in the last year. So it is a staged approach. You know, you don't need everything from day one. Just start as you have problems, and how can we make these problems easier or more streamlined. So very quickly, I'm just going to kind of go through kind of our 6 kind of top lessons. I think a lot more memes about this as well. So I think don't waste money or time on experts. So this is something I think we've learned slowly. You know, when you start selling online, and no matter what point you're at, you know, someone will probably want to come in and charge you thousands and thousands of pounds for a custom website. They'll want to charge you loads of money to do some photography or SEO. And, you know, I kind of have helped mentor some business starting out. You know, my mum even is runs a ground care business, and they are trying to get online. And, you know, these experts, I call them, you know, they'll come in and say, well, you need to be on #1 page on Google. You need to pay us £1,000 a month to do that. And, you know, frankly, in my view, it's complete rubbish. You know, then you don't need to pay these people to do this stuff, because they'll come in, you'll pay loads of money for someone to do something they've told you is very important. At the end of the day, when they walk out the door again, you still don't know how it works. The best way to do it is YouTube. I've slowly learned the lesson, but, you know, just go and learn yourself. You know, if your community, you're based on lots of volunteers, you know, get someone to go learn about some of these things, you know, take it by step. You know, I learned how to build a website. I learned how to design our products. I learned how to do our Facebook marketing, all of this sort of stuff. And it's so much better now, because at the scale we've got to, I understand how these things work, that I kind of know when an expert knows what they're talking about or not, and we can then pass it on to people, or I can train other people to do these sort of things. So, you know, please don't go waste money on experts, paying people to build you a custom website, to do stuff with you, because it's just not, it's a waste of money. It's not hard to do. Honestly, no matter who you are, what experience you've got, YouTube will teach you everything you need to know. Another key lesson, I think, build for now, design for tomorrow. And so, this picture really kind of shows our journey, from me packing the orders on an ironing board in my flat, through to kind of where we are now with a big, kind of warehouse and all these kind of systems. We didn't build that system straight away. We didn't frankly need it. Me learning it and doing it myself in a really unscalable, small way to where we are now, it's been a very different journey. And, doing it in that smaller way was obviously more cost efficient, but I learned it. I could really understand it, become an expert in it. And then when we've gone to a bigger scale now, I really understand it. And the beauty at the moment, and I was saying this to Lucy the other day, is we're now looking at our social impact of how we can create more social impact with the scale, we frankly now have. But because I've built that and I've done that journey, I now understand where the opportunities are for us to have a far bigger social impact by the people we employ and the kind of products and packaging and everything we use, because I know what we need, so as much as you can, no matter if you're volunteers or who you are, really do that. I think online doesn't mean less social impact, should be more. And I spoke with Joe in the breakouts before, but, just because you say online, Amazon is not the benchmark. Amazon do some great stuff, but they also do a lot of very bad stuff, and they get a lot of bad press for it. The products, the materials you use for your products, whether that's sending out the products. So we send ours out. Yes, we have to use packaging to send our product to consumers, but we use 100% home compostable mail bags. We also aren't detracting from sales. We're based here in Manchester, and we actually did an advert with Vodafone about 2 years ago now about selling online and all this. And the point that we really made in that advert is if we had a small store here in Manchester, our customer base and who we could sell to and the impact we could have would be so limited. But selling online is so much broader. And I think, Aberdeen, and I've got them here, we've got a lot of city skyline stocks, so we support homeless all over the world. And we're not detracting from supporting people in Aberdeen or supporting people in York and Exeter. If anything, selling online, we're actually enhancing that, because we're not just selling to people in that town, we're selling to everyone globally who has an affiliation or loyalty to that town. And I think a lot of you who probably aren't online yet will be surprised when you start selling online that you'll be getting orders and customers from remote and random parts of the world and the country who want to support what you do. And maybe it's because they were from that area, or they just love what you're doing and want to support a local good cause that's doing something on a small scale. Honestly, and the events of the last year with the pandemic and everything that's happened, people were far more moved towards wanting to support that. And a lot of you have been closed, frankly, so they want to support you and they want to do good. They don't just want to make maybe a donation. Social enterprise is all about trading. So give them something to allow them to trade with you. The opportunities will be so much bigger. And in all your community, if it's volunteer based, I'm trying to not be too general, know what you all do, but, having someone local to do your photography, that's teaching them some great skills, photography that you need for your website, as I mentioned, or getting local people to pack the orders that you're selling online, people update and run your website, people to get into marketing. There's so many opportunities that are needed online that you can do from your community. And then the obvious top thing is that, it's extra revenue, frankly, that you wouldn't be getting if not, that can fund your community projects. So, you're not taking from your local community. And I keep making that point. You're selling almost to a lot broader community to fund and support what you want to do on your local community projects. And I think, really important to communicate your story. And I think, you've all had this on marketing, you guys are all probably, no doubt, doing different community-based things, and you really need to kind of tell that story online. I know you've had, say, lessons on marketing, but really communicate it on photography, on writing, on your packaging, as many opportunities as you can, why you're different. Mum likes buying from social products, and she'll always say, oh, well, I brought this bag and it's from this company in Glasgow, and they employ local refugees and they support women out of sex trade. And she'll tell me the story of this product, and she'll tell no doubt 10, 20 of her friends of it. And the beauty again online, she's not just telling the local people in her town to go support this local shop. She's telling people on the internet who are all over the world who are then also coming and supporting this organization. So, really communicate what you do, why it's different, through photography, through video, not just obviously in writing. Put a little card note inserts in your orders to tell people why they're buying from you makes a difference. And, bring people on your journey, frankly. People want to sign up to emails, and updates, and, it's the best way online of kind of telling your story and kind of really communicating that ongoing. this is an obvious point, and this isn't a strictly online one, but, listen to your customers. You're not building loads of local community cafes, say, in lots of different towns. You can move far quicker online. You can test a new idea and think, what about, people are buying our flower products, let's say, that are packed locally, but we need to sell a certain amount every month because of the, the costs involved, let's say, of getting that product in. Set up a subscription and just have a little app that does that, and see if people would sign up and do that. And after 3 or 4 months, okay, not enough people are signing up to it, then you can stop it. You've probably only lost about $20, $30 that you spent on an app. So test and learn, be adaptive, just have, lots of crazy ideas. You'll look at the data, you'll see things and opportunities, and kind of embrace them. We do a lot with companies, we do a lot with QR codes and all kind of very clever things now that, frankly, we didn't set out to do. This all kind of came later on. And then I think, this again is not just online, but get a grip on the numbers and data early. There's so much more data online than there is offline, and so really understand that. Everything from your business numbers, your metrics in terms of, are you making money, how much have you got to charge for shipping, how much does it cost you actually to send the product. If you're selling one-off products and you're uploading them every time and you're selling them, is the price reflecting that? Do customers know that that's a one-off product? You're making a separate product page every time. Really get a grip on it, because it's an additional revenue, but there's slightly different things. You've got shipping and you've got some more costs of selling online that you don't have offline, but you've also got a lot more wider audience and benefits. So get a grip on that. Understand your conversions. There's so many metrics you can track online. How many people are coming to your website? How many people are buying? Are you benchmark yourself in the industry? Are you above average? Are you below it? This gets more complicated as you say move along that spectrum. But get an idea on them early on, just to know where you are, and then try and improve them. One of the things we do at the moment is compare year on year. So every day, week, and month, we compare to the previous year, and we're always trying to kind of increase it of the trends throughout the year of people buying. And it is core to our business. We are 95% online and 5% kind of offline, so it is core. But I think get a grip on that, because it helps you make better decisions and better optimize. As I say, if you want to go from £50 a week in sales online to 500, 5,000, you need to start to look into this stuff. And I've said this point a lot, but one step at a time. Just get started with it. You don't need all the bells and whistles straight away. Just start launching something, start experimenting, see what you can do. Anything you do, in my view, is an additional revenue, whether you're selling £1 more a week or you're just getting 20 more people learning about you a week online. That's a fantastic metric to start with, and only if you can grow that. Online has boomed even more this last year for us, for many organizations, not just Amazon. And you guys, I think everyone needs to. There's a lot of talk about the acceleration of online over the last work from home, obviously, and buying and selling online has fast forwarded 5-10 years in literally the last 6 months. So no better time than to start right now. And there's so much opportunities for you to embrace. And as I say, it's not taken away from what you guys do, all the fantastic work already. It should only add to it. So that's that. Please ask any questions. I'm going to stop my screen share there.
Thanks very much, Josh. That's really, that is great. Bear with me 1 second. So thanks very much, Josh. That was really insightful, actually, and some quite simple lessons there. I've got a couple of reflections myself that I think I just would just note. So I think a couple of the things that jumped out for me is one, the thing of, everyone here today is a community business, so they have a local focus in terms of the impact of their work. But I think what was really good is the way you're talking about how to sell further afield in order to fund that local work, and I think that's quite a useful reflection for people to have. And then I think there's a couple of things around just the kind of efficiency of it that really struck me. So some of the tools you were using, or that you were talking about, of just really trying to make it as simple as possible, and just starting really small. But so they're just some quick reflections from me. I'm going to just invite some questions. If anybody would like to come on camera and ask a question, they're very welcome. Otherwise, what I will do is go through the questions that you popped in the chat for Josh.
Perfect. But yeah, and I agree. And just on that point, Lucy, about keeping it simple, I don't know if I covered that fully, but at the end of the day, everyone on this call, you're all consumers. So there's a saying in kind of UX, user experience design about, don't make me think. We've changed our website a lot, where it used to be you landed on it and we'd be like, right, here's all these causes, here's all this stuff we do. And we realized that people just want to look at socks first and then learn about all the different causes after. So if you kind of hit people the other way around. So I think there's lots of stuff like that we've learned over the time, and just keeping it really simple. Like, we've gone through complicating everything to then actually making it more simple, and arguably we've done better online the more simple we've made it. So just start as simple as you can from day one, if possible.
Okay, great. So there's a couple of questions that are coming through, Josh, and then there's a few that were asked a little bit earlier on. A couple of people are asking questions that are, I suppose, more around the digital marketing side of things. So in today's session, it's a huge topic anyway. So how you physically run your shop in itself is one thing, and then how you actually get people to use the shop is another matter. But I wonder if you have any kind of points you could just sort of briefly talk on in terms of how you drive people to the site. And obviously that's a big question. So if perhaps you've got any tips on things that people could go away and look at themselves in more detail.
Yeah, and it's such a huge topic. You can have the most amazing website, story, business, everything, but if no one knows about you, it's going to be hard to get them there. And there's no kind of quick answer, unfortunately, to that. I think we've tried lots of things over the years. There's so many things, in terms of SEO. So what that is like, search engine optimization, which is just your ranking on Google. So, we do things there where we're making sure on our website we have a lot of keywords that are relevant to us. So homelessness and socks. So if you, searched on Google homeless socks or support the homeless with socks, we'll come up number one because people are looking for us. So make sure your most relevant stuff is finding you, because that's your cheapest traffic and your most relevant traffic. Obviously being active on social media, having, at least kind of Facebook, Instagram, maybe not so much Twitter. Twitter doesn't do a huge amount for us, and definitely kind of been in decline in the last couple of years. But having, those platforms, telling a story there, having, I think good content. And I think, that's not, again, going out and spending lots of money with an agency or anything expensive. There's a platform called Canva, which is free. You can make beautiful content on there in seconds. Anybody can. My mum, I keep touching on her, but last few months I've been teaching her how to use Canva, and she makes now insane content, looks like a graphic designer. And it's just, click a button, change the text, colors. So stuff like that for Instagram, just to tell people your story. People are going to share stuff they find on social, and then on your social, you've got a link to your website or your web store. Obviously, those platforms also have web stores integrated as well. So you can actually just sell directly from Facebook and Instagram, either your website or on there. And then, as you get more complex, as I say, it's your email marketing and that. So once you've got people who have bought from you, how do you get them to buy more from you, or to them to your loyal customers to go and tell more customers to bring them in because they're the best? And then the top level is the most expensive and most complicated is digital marketing, in the sense of driving adverts and stuff like that, which honestly I wouldn't get started on straight away. We didn't start for the first 2 years there, and yes, we do a lot on it now. We have one person on it full time, but the numbers we're trying to do and push is there, and it's very expensive, running Facebook and Google ads. So I wouldn't do it too early on, but once you get to a certain point, keywords on Google, so people wanting to find plant-based businesses in Suffolk, let's say, you want them to find you, at the end of the day, so you want to put keywords around that, but you'll be paying a few pounds click per one. And, if you're 100% profit community-based business, you don't want to be losing thousands of pounds a week in ads. So try a lot of the free stuff first, and then PR, blogs, influencers as well is all really good. Get local media, let people know about you. Start with, at the end of the day, your community. My quick advice would be go no, so I don't think it's against GDPR, but make flyers of what you do, that you've got an online store, and spread them around your local community. Get your local community buying from you. It's far cheaper. Use Solo Press is a great company. You can print, you know, a few hundred flyers, card, you know, nice card insert booklets for £10–20 probably. So I'll start with your local community, get them to know about you before you start going international and UK.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's really helpful. And the broader thing around marketing is obviously it is a significant chunk of learning in itself. That's really useful. The keywords thing is particularly useful. Just I suppose just pushing a bit further on the local theme, because yeah, most people here will be community businesses and they may be interested in selling further afield, but generally speaking, I'm going to take a guess, everybody, that your primary focus is those kind of geographically closer to you. Of those platforms, are there any social media platforms that are better suited to drive traffic locally? I'm thinking Facebook, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I would probably say Facebook. I mean, Facebook is good and bad in the sense because it's so broad. So, but it's probably better than Instagram. And it's a generational thing, you know. Obviously there's TikTok if we're talking about a lot younger demographic. You know, someone like my brother comes to here in Manchester and he'll search hashtag on Instagram, you know, coffee shops, and find the independent coffee shops. So that's his way of finding local small independent businesses for his generation. I'd say if your demographic is probably 40 plus, which is a lot of what ours is, Facebook is probably the best, you know, a Facebook page. You can also make a Facebook group, which is a really quick way of, I was saying about, you know, CRM systems and having email systems. They're quite expensive. Make a Facebook group for your local community, just for your organization, you know, help you find volunteers and lots of other parts of your business. But you can use it as a marketing channel. You know, people can invite friends to it who are in the local area. You can put special offers in there, or if you've got clearance of a certain product or you need some support, you can put that in there. So I'm building almost like a Facebook group for the local community. You know, it's not what we've done, but you know, we were quite nationally focused straight away. But if I was doing a very localized business and had an online website, that's probably what I would start doing today if I was doing it.
Thank you. That's really helpful. And then there's just a couple of I think you've got a lot of you've got a lot of questions here, Josh, which is good. But there's a couple of follow-ons, and just to say, I'm going to come back to ones that people said at the beginning. Is Carol's just follow on that? Is there a tool that's useful to help people identify keywords?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many, and I think the hard thing with a lot of the stuff online is the spectrum is so broad. You know, from things that will cost you thousands and thousands of pounds a month to use, and things that cost $10–20, and a lot obviously that are free. Initially, I would say look at kind of Google Keyword Finder and Google Trends. Google is kind of the number one, obviously, for online and search. They've got things, you know, like trends where you can type in, like we type in, for example, for us, the word socks, and we can see throughout a year or the last 5 years how, if there's any trends, you know, for example, Christmas from November, the amount of searches for socks every year spikes, you know, and then we can cross-reference that with homelessness or ethical, and we can see another trend, and we can go, okay, well, there's a lot more interest in these times of year in these sort of topics, and then, you know, that informs our content and what we're doing on social media, because we know what people are looking for, and it also helps us identify new products. You know, if we see people searching a lot more for Pilates socks, for example, that's been trends through lockdown, you know, we can go and launch products there. So it's kind of moving with the market and what people want, and a lot of, like, you know, not just relying on the data, you know, assumptions of us going, well, people are locked down, people want, you know, less, you know, cycling socks because they've got to work out close to home, but they want grippy socks, or they want more, you know, we did an NHS sock over the summer, they want community. So you've got to kind of look at the data and then look at that. But yeah, Google Keyword Finder and Google Trends would be the initial, and then set up your Google Analytics account quite early. Quite simple, just link it to your website and don't worry about anything else, because as soon as it's linked, it's tracking data and stuff. So then if you go back into it 6 months, 6 years later, you'll see that data and where traffic's coming from and all that kind of insights that's there. You want to just start building it and set it up and then forget about it in a sense.
Awesome. Okay, some more questions. If you can keep going, take a sip of water. So Sabrina and Sarah were interested in, I suppose, how to manage a growth in demand. So just, you know, the examples you've given are obviously how demand and the particular things that people are demanding has changed. Have you got any tips on how to respond to if you do get a surge, which I know some people will have had, but also a bit of any confidence tips as a newbie to this field on how to deal with that pressure?
Yeah, and we fortunately had a number of these kind of experiences. You know, obviously Dragon's Den, you know, on TV, 10-minute TV ad basically on BBC. You know, you get a huge spike. Louis Theroux was probably even bigger when he promoted it. He's got a really loyal following. I don't know what my tip would be. I mean, it's a great thing to have, and I think it's a beautiful thing about online is, you know, you're not open 9 to 5 and queue around the door because you've got a huge spike. You know, you can kind of handle it. I think definitely without doubt, and you know, use one of the platforms like Shopify and all the others because they can handle it. They won't crash your website. Firstly, you can also, you have control. So for example, with like Louis Theroux, we can tick a box to allow overselling. So we knew that we'd sell out that product within 10 minutes, and we did. I was stuck in our warehouse when it happened. I didn't know he was going to promote it on his Instagram, so we weren't ready. And you know, we can tick a box and then allows overselling. So we could oversell that product and then quite easily send an email to all the customers who bought it and say, hey, sorry, actually it's sold out, but it's coming back in 2 weeks. Do you want us to refund your order? Do you want to cancel it? These platforms, you know, when you start getting into it, you'll see you can, so much information. I can click on a customer and say, right, what have they brought? How many times have they brought? What's their shipping address? I can put notes on their account and say, okay, this person wants a refund. This I want to issue a gift card to. This one I want to give a discount code to. All of this, you know, I really scrape the surface on what these kind of stuff can do. So those platforms can handle it. And when you've got surges, you know, all the orders are in time order. You know, it's not they're coming through the door and you go, I need to give this product to this person, and who was first in line. It's I work through the orders in order, and if I've got 1,000 orders, we know who to prioritize. So those systems are there straight away, and you can add more and more systems on and more tools to help you manage it, because you know, you need to be efficient. You don't need to complicate. You don't want to make mistakes. So just have the right systems in place. And I think that point of build for now, design for tomorrow. Don't think about, you know, we always joke that David Beckham, or Ed Sheeran's probably a better example. We've got an Ed Sheeran sock at the moment. You know, we're always like, if Ed Sheeran just tweeted about our thing, it would crash our website. You know, Stephen Fry, 12 million followers, tweeted about us in December, and it's like, oh, we're not going to crash our website. But the more prepared you are for this and going, I don't need to build all these systems. You know, I know I've got a system that will work, and if I need more, I can add things on. So design for tomorrow is kind of that idea of thinking, okay, if we're doing 10 orders a week at the moment, if we're doing 1,000 orders a week, what we're doing at the moment isn't scalable. We're printing all the orders one by one. Okay, we need a system that will print them all automatically and update the system to say that order's been sent out when we scan it. You know, that's what we've got now. But in the early days, it was me printing it off, sticking it on, and then clicking a button and going, okay, marker's fulfilled. I've packed that order on this date and time. Next one, okay, done. And that was a fine system when we're doing 10 orders, and when we're doing 1,000 a day, it's a different system. So yeah, go for a good platform, and then okay, work it out as it breaks and goes wrong, then fix it with a better system.
Oh, that's very helpful. I didn't. The overselling point is probably very, very useful. Just following on from that, Helen's asked, did you contact influencers or did they contact you?
And again, such a broad topic. I think influencer marketing, and you know, I mean, no disrespect to anyone on this call, but young people, and even, you know, I'm 30 next month, so I don't really get it. But young people and influencers, it's a massive thing. You know, what we mean by that is, I mean, old school, you know, a local mayor promoting your product just help you get more reputation and more awareness in the local area. And the same as a celebrity. I think the one watch out, I'll say quite quickly, because, you know, we wasted a lot of money, time in terms of, you know, paying somebody to look at it and it being a waste of time. It's very hit and miss. So brief example, Louis Theroux, I think 300,000 followers, did probably 5 times more sales off him than Stephen Fry, who has 12.5 million followers, he did. So don't, you know, look at how many followers someone's got or think they're going to work. We've worked with local mayors, we've worked with local football clubs, and it's far more, you know, better almost than some of the big celebrity names we've had. One thing we do quite well, and I'd recommend, is not just looking at influencers to get you traffic to your website, because that is kind of the wrong attitude. I think get people like Michael Sheen for us, who genuinely cares about social enterprise, is an authentic voice in the space, get him to endorse and promote our product, but because he actually cares about it and he actually likes the product, not because we're giving him a free pair of socks. We do a lot of kind of what we call gifting, so we'll give products to influencers, like the dog ones, people who make really amazing photos of dogs. We'll give them a pair of socks with dogs. And yes, they've got a few thousand followers, but we're not getting them to drive us sales. What we're trying to get them to do is give us great content. So they'll take an amazing photo with their amazing dog and their really good angles and all this kind of stuff. And that photo we get back and we give them a pair of socks. So it's trying to find, your tribe, your people who are similar to you, like what you do, are genuine and authentic in what you do, and work with those. And we've made too many mistakes trying to just go for the kind of big influencers, the big metrics. Let Boohoo and let the kind of fashion brands do that, because they've got far bigger budgets and they can waste their money on that. I think for us and social businesses, authenticity and transparency is so much more important. So find genuinely great people who love what you do.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. And obviously the context of most of the people here is I'm guessing that nobody here is planning on particularly targeting David Beckham or Louis Theroux just yet, but you might be. But thinking about how you apply those principles to people who have influence more locally, who aren't not necessarily full-scale celebrities, or you might do. Maybe you've got a big football club by you or something. All right, brilliant. That's great. There's a couple more questions that people asked. So I'm just going back to Caitlin asked a while ago. How often do you change the stock on your site to make sure that people stay interested?
Good question. And it's such a hard one because we've made mistakes in this space. So I think early on we went from, let's say, 30 designs to 60. And I think looking again at the data, we worked out that our customers don't care. I mean this in a nice way, don't care if we have 10 designs, 50 designs, 30 designs. But when we're paying for storage and you've got 2 sizes in all these products, it's a lot harder to do and find the products and sell them the more products you have. Now I say that as a hypocrite because we now have, I think, 110 SKUs, but that's just because it's been Christmas and we've expanded our reach quite a bit. So customers come to us, they want to buy a pair of socks, they want to support homeless. 10 designs is enough. Even in fact, 6 designs would have been enough. So the more products you have, the more inventory issues you have, the more storage space and all the complications, and also errors in packing orders. So I'd keep it small if you can. But yeah, completely right. If we had 6 and we did that for 2 years or even 6 years now, our customers will be like, well, we want to come back and support you. We love the quality, we love the mission, but I bought every design you do. So you do need to keep adding more. So I think start small, work out what's selling. We, in the early days, the minimum orders in socks is quite high as a product. It's quite a heavy kind of manufacturing process, let's say, yarn ordering and everything involved in it. So we were going to launch, I think, 3 designs, a red, blue and a green sock. And we were going to have 15,000 pairs. And it was like, come to our website and you see 3 products. And we had so much stock of it. Fortunately, we were able to kind of make some changes and do some things with great nimble supply chain that we built, but test and learn. So we now can launch designs in just a few hundred pairs, test if people like it, and if it works, we can scale it up. This last Christmas, we thought Shakespeare would be a really popular design. We didn't test it. We just went ahead and did it. We made 3,000 pairs of it, and I've still got 999. No, but I've still got a lot of it. We've made a mistake then. We're holding a lot of stock in a product that's not as popular. We did socks around the Euros with Harry Kane and Gareth Southgate. Coronavirus hit and that was cancelled. So, it goes both ways. We had issues at Christmas. By December, all of our most popular designs were sold out. But on the flip side, we've got loads of designs that we thought would be popular that weren't. So in the early days, you don't want to tie up money. You don't want to tie up resources in stock. So start small, work out what sells, and then when you do, double down. Cities for us is big, and LGBT is really important for us, and we expand from what we know sells, from 1 product to 5 to 10 and so on. But don't go for everything straight away. I see Sally wants to buy a Shakespeare pair. She can do that.
Yeah, she can.
Please do. There's lots of them.
But the basic principle of just selling what works, and just, I think you kind of iterated this quite a few times in your talk, but about really starting small, starting simple, you know, the classic principles about just testing stuff and seeing actually what works. And I think, you know, conversations I've had with people around their nerves of setting up online shops is one of the issues around having loads of stock and then getting stuck with it. So there was a follow-on question, I think it was also Caitlin who'd asked around earlier on, how do you prioritize what to list?
Yeah, hard one. And it's that thing, you know, if you're offline and this product goes out of stock, someone walks in and the shelf's empty, they walk out, and you don't know, you can't contact that person again. The benefits of online, like we've got on our website a little button that if something's out of stock, you can say email me when this is back in stock, and you just click that button, put your email address in, and we have that saved, and we know which product and everything you want, and when that comes back in stock, we can let everyone know. So it's better, well, not better to have less sell out of stock than have too much, but don't, you know, compared to offline, you are capturing people better. In terms of priority, I think, you know, it's hard. I think for us, and we've had this with social, you know, social enterprise world for a while. SSE, I think, are really good at it. I think, you know, you really focus on the enterprise side of the social side, and that, almost bad as that kind of sounds, I think strip out your social bit, just like almost cover that up and think, right, if we didn't do that and didn't have all this social mission and all the impact we're having, how do we now sell just this product? And then we sell this product online, and how do we communicate it? And do all of that and think, okay, how do I get someone to come and now buy, you know, our flowers or buy our community, support our community cafe? It's great products, it's great marketing, it's great all this, that, and the other. Have all that, focus on it, and then go, right, now let me add back on the social bit. Like, don't forget it, obviously. Like, they do shout about it, but almost just think about, if you didn't have it, how would you sell it? And it almost, I think, changes your mindset. Like we had it in the early days where we was just going about our cause, buy our socks, support these causes, blah, blah, blah. And we didn't care about, you know, we put cause first, product second. And I think we flipped it around. We make the greatest socks in the history of feet, you know, self-proclaimed, but we make the best socks you can buy. They're the most comfortable, the best quality, ethical, all that. So you want to buy our socks, and once you buy a pair, they're great. And then, oh, by the way, we also do the social good. And, you know, Change Please Coffee and Bellu and lots of, you know, Divine, lots of great social enterprises have kind of nailed this as well, where they have a fantastic product that almost people don't know it's a social enterprise until after they've bought it. And it kind of brings people back to buy it because of the social side. But have a great product first. If you know, Chimao and Change Please Coffee tasted disgusting, people wouldn't just keep buying it just to buy it. Or the big-ish content was rubbish, you know, they buy it and put it in the bin around the corner. You know, you can't just sell and trade on the social side. So in terms of what products to prioritize, you know, what products you think people are going to want to buy and support, and not just because of the story. You know, think of what people want. You know, ask them. You know, another great platform is called Typeform. The SurveyMonkey and a few others. And I think SSE actually use Typeform to do surveys and stuff. But, you know, it's free. It takes you 20 minutes, set up a quick little survey asking your local community, put it on your Facebook page, send it around a few of your network and your email list if you've got one, and ask people what they want. You know, what they'd more like to buy online, how much they pay for it, and what they want. And open-ended questions, not just yes, no, would you buy this online from us? Because it doesn't really tell you anything. You know, if we sold this online, would you buy it? What would you want to know? How would we deliver it to you? I want it hand delivered. I don't want it delivered with a local courier because I'm 2 streets away. You know, just ask people, you know, and work out what. And then I think selling online and listing products is free at the end of the day. So unless you're on eBay and stuff, if you're on your own platform, you can list 100 products and it doesn't cost you anything. So list a lot and see what sells and take off what doesn't sell. I think a little bit, test and learn, as vague as that does sound, I'm sorry.
No, I think that's really, really useful. Okay, so we're just coming up to closing time, unfortunately, on the webinar. But there's a couple of quick questions that are still lingering. So, Josh, if you've got a couple of minutes, hopefully we can just hang on. If anyone's got any burning questions that they haven't asked, now is your time. Particularly if you'd asked, there's a couple of people who'd noted at the beginning stuff around the technical side of things. If there's anything very specific, do drop that in the chat. What was the other question? One was about stock going out of date specifically. So say, for example, you're selling plants or kind of fresh products. Do you have any quick tips on how to manage that with the shop?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, fortunately for us, we're a non-perishable product, and that does give us a lot of advantages of holding a bit more stock than we need, or trends and things like that. but 100%, your food, your drink, your plants, all those guys, it's a challenge. I think I'd say in a little bit, it's no different to if you're selling offline, and almost you'd probably have more opportunities if you're selling online, because you've got a bigger audience, a bigger community. So if it's something like plants and you're getting towards going off and stuff like that, you can look at discounting. So a lot of these platforms, you can set up really smart discount codes where only certain people can see the discount, or you give it to repeat customers, or unique codes and all this kind of stuff. So almost you can give your loyal following and say, hey, 50% off this, or it's, and then you can be honest and say, look, this is going to go off. I'm going to sell it for nothing. If you buy 4 of these, then you can have it for a discount. So it's nothing different, I think, than your kind of old school marketing. The same as a food, Tesco's, we do a discount aisle. You can have an area on your website that's clearance, and communicate that this is maybe starting to go off, but the price reflects that. I think that sort of stuff, if you have an email list or a Facebook group, you can post in there, and you can kind of you can always have that to sell on there. And I think with flowers, Freddy's Flowers, Bloom and Wild, there's a lot of very big guys selling online doing this at scale. Almost look at if you can find any podcasts or content from the founders of that. I know Bloom and Wild founders talked quite often about they had a lot of mistakes in the early days where a lot of stuff went off, and certain boxes and certain packaging and things they were using, and they found ways around that to make it longer lasting and stuff. So other people have probably had similar problems. So I'd see how they've kind of solved it, and not say copy, but there's the tips are probably out there. I'm definitely not an expert on it, but I think old school marketing and yeah, just testing and learning.
Test and learn again.
My favorite word.
So yeah. I just want to check, Josh, because a couple of questions have come through that are slightly more technical, but I'm just conscious of time. Of how long do you?
Yeah, it's absolutely fine.
All right, and then everybody else, if you're obviously welcome to keep listening in. So Josh, a couple of specific questions then is how do accounting packages link to payment platforms? So very practical question.
Yeah, entirely. And the bigger, it doesn't matter how big you are, but the more platforms you use, the more they integrate together. Most of them do. So accounting packages, all from Xero, QuickBooks, Sage, all the big guys, they'll all plug into your Shopify store, let's say, or your Squarespace. They'll also link into your website, warehouse software if you need to as well. So they all do, because they know their value on standalone products. They need to link together to create value to users like ourselves. So they all do. Get on the App Store if you're something like Shopify, and there's Xero plugin. There's all the main plugins directly from the organizations, and there's other tools that probably their plugins don't do. So there's one for like cost of goods sold. If you're getting quite big, you probably need to be tracking that of how many have I sold every week and month, and I've got to record that for my profit and loss in my accounting package. There's other apps and tools that do that. To take Apple's quote, there's an app for everything, but there is, and a lot of them, if not, will export CSV files and stuff to Excel if you need to do some manual stuff. It really depends on your scale, but yeah, they all do. We use Xero. We used to use QuickBooks. Prefer Xero much better, a lot more scalable, better to integrate into things. And then obviously a payment platform, so as well, they will integrate to PayPal, and yeah, Stripe, everything links together.
Great. So yeah, they are usually quite well integrated. I guess sometimes people get stuck on the nitty gritty of how different things do connect. But I would say don't, if you're experiencing that, you're not alone. And I think it's just about trying to be patient and not trying to kind of do too many things at once, and just try and kind of keep whatever it is that you're building as simple as you can at first. So you're not having to try and learn 50 different tools in one go.
Definitely.
There's a couple of questions in terms of your supply chain. So this is perhaps a very big question, but from Sabrina, how did you build your supply chain? And I guess that would link to how you have gone about sourcing your suppliers. So we're moving off the online shop thing here, but so I'm conscious of of how much you're able to share on that.
No, of course, and I'm obviously happy to. That's what I said. We're not an e-commerce expert. We've just kind of done it, but we have learned and done everything else as well. Supply chain nightmare. I think in the bluntest way. I think it's not straightforward, you know, young and naive when I entered it, and I thought it's easy, you know, you can just go on the internet and find anything. You know, in my view, Google is, as I always joke, is my co-founder, and with anything you're trying to do, always start with Google it, and then probably YouTube is great to find videos and information, find podcasts, you know, webinars and the things like this are great, but you know, you can find so much online, so many on any topic. I think for us, you know, supply chain took a long time. I always joke I was running a sock company for a year without actually a sock manufacturer. We had a website. With the website before we had supply chain, we had everything else without actually any socks, and I was going off talking about it and getting press, and we couldn't actually even sell any socks. So it took a lot longer than we expected. We went all over the world, you know, to be honest. We went to big trade shows, we went to China, we went to everywhere to find them, and found them closest to home. At the end of the day, you know, it was a bit of a chance meeting for our factory. We basically, for socks, have one of the biggest sock manufacturers in the world. We're, without doubt, even the scale we're doing now, their smallest customer. So there's a bit of luck in the end, but only luck because we were out there looking for it. And, you know, because we've got partnered with built such a great relationship with such a big supplier, has so many benefits in the sense that when we do different stuff with different products, or we do different packaging, or we're doing different yarns, they are so powerful in the industry to kind of help us with that. And I think, you know, now being 5-6 years, we need them more than they need us, you know, frankly speaking. But we've helped bring innovation and new ideas to them. And, you know, there's a whole story behind how we work with them, but they like my story and what I'm trying to do, and they want to support us. And we've gone from being a nice idea to, okay, they're actually a smallish but growing business. And I've just spent the last week doing strategy, but we're about to go to like more global and a whole nother scale. So actually we'll become a decent client to them, but that wasn't why we started. But it, you know, it's allowed us to kind of have a lot more power. And I think I don't know what the word is, you know, I'm not from the industry. I didn't become an expert in socks, textiles, and everything else, which allowed me to walk into it and say, well, why is things done that way? And I wanted to do it this way, and not stomp my feet a bit, but just be like, well, I want to do this. And this company's done that in another industry. Well, why can't we do that? And so we've really trying to challenge the norm. And it's, you know, it's taken, I think, 6 years to get to the products we're doing now. You know, it wasn't overnight. Our first product was awful. Our packaging was awful. Everything was awful. They always say if you're not embarrassed by your first product, you've launched too early. We launched and I was so proud of our product. 6 years on, I'm so embarrassed by our first product. So, you know, just start with what you can. It's not an easy process. Just get out there and network, build relationships. You know, if you're looking at something in textiles, you can probably partner with another company who's already got a supply chain. It might not be as cheap, but you could start testing and learning. But you can start, you know, using their products or buying through them at a higher cost. And then as you get bigger and a bit more revenue, you go to them. Because frankly, you know, in supply chains, it's all about volume, unfortunately. And no matter, your social mission won't get you through the door. You know, with that, their business model is you know, is scale. So yeah, a little bit of luck, but just persistence really is my key tip there.
Fantastic. All right. Well, I think that is the end of your questions, Josh. But yeah, really, really great. And I guess it's you know, it's always good to remember that we can't sort of separate the different topics of what it takes to build a community business or a social enterprise, because everything's inherently interrelated. And particularly when so many people are running their organisations either by themselves or with quite a smaller number of staff or volunteers, it is important to be able to learn yourself a little bit of everything. And going back to what you said at the beginning, you know, about how you really had learned a bit about all of the different tools and kind of approaches yourself to give you confidence. And that it's possible, even if you're not very tech savvy, you're not someone who is particularly comfortable with these things, it is possible to start small. So really echoing what Josh said at the beginning of looking at Facebook Marketplace, eBay, even, you know, Gumtree, there's all kinds of, well, it's not a shop, but looking at really kind of local mechanisms that you can just play with early before worrying about scaling, but then really encouraging you to look into things like Shopify, because they're not as complicated as perhaps they need be for a very simple first draft.
100%.
Yeah. All right. Well, brilliant. Any closing remarks, Josh?
I think it's echo that, and I think the main thing, as you say, is scaling. You know, it's so easy to scale online, but it's also so easy to start. And don't need to look at what others are doing and think we need to be like that. You know, I think people doing flowers, you know, look at what Bloom and Wild and those big guys are doing really well, and just start something that's realistic and small to you, because you've almost got as a benchmark, you can see what they're doing and how they're doing it, and you can almost say, well, let's take what they're doing and do 1% of it on our local community level. And I think, you know, that's probably the key thing. It is honestly so easy. I was on benefits and I'm dyslexic when I started all this from zero, and you know where we are now is you know, I could never think that we'd be where we are now, and also where we're going. So anyone can do it, and it's really easy. I mean, doing ourselves a discredit, but it is honestly so easy. Just YouTube and learn and test and learn and get people involved, and just don't start doing everything from day one. Just start with something and keep building and learning.
Fantastic. You're getting lots of good feedback on the chat, so people seem to be really appreciative, and I think this is why we wanted to bring you know, someone who's walked the same journey as many of you to this webinar today. So I think the fact of what you've demonstrated that you've been able to achieve through self-learning, I think is the really useful thing, but particularly with anything techie, it tends to freak people out and they get a bit scared. That it's not possible. So hopefully that really sort of brings it down to ground. Hopefully you're gonna shift some of those Shakespeare socks.
Hopefully, yeah.
Bit of your marketing. So thanks very much, everybody. The webinar recording will be up very soon. I'll just pop the link in the chat box. But as always, encourage you to get in touch with your fellow social entrepreneurs and learn what they've learned. So I wish you a very nice January afternoon. And see you all again soon. So thanks again very much, Josh.
No worries. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, everybody.